out there in the world of YouTube, or wherever it is you're checking out this video. I hope it's the entire video, but if not, and it's just a clip or a snippet, I understand and I appreciate that too. My name is Jacqueline Anderson, and today I have the pleasure of interviewing Miss Devonnie Simmons. She is a CPA candidate, which means she's currently studying for the Certified Public Accounting exam. And today she's agreed to share her experience thus far and tell us how she plans to use the credentials in her accounting career. I'll get started with the first question, which I always ask is, what is your name? What's printed on your birth certificate?
Devonnie Savon Simmons.
Gotcha. Okay, where are you from, Devonnie?
I'm from Pineville, South Carolina, which is right outside of Monscona.
Okay, gotcha. And where are you currently living? Is that where you currently live? Is where you from? You stay around in your hometown?
Well, I'm like the next city over in St. Stephen,
Gotcha.
which is literally a small town also outside of Monscona.
That's okay. So what age and year did you decide to pursue the CPA designation?
I want to say it was my junior year in college. My homegirl persuaded me to go ahead and focus on the CPA. Originally, I wanted to do managerial accounting.
Gotcha. So how old are you right now?
I'm 30.
Gotcha. Okay. And what college or university did you attend?
I got my undergrad from Francis Marion University, and I got my master's from University of Phoenix.
Okay. And what year was that? Did you finish?
I finished my undergrad in 2012. I got my master's in 2013.
Gotcha. Okay. So since then, you decided to embark on the CPA journey?
Yes. Yes.
Gotcha. Okay. Did you major in accounting?
I did.
Okay. And right now, where are you currently working or industry? Is it corporate, government, public accountant, entrepreneur?
Well, I work for a public accounting firm, but I'm not actually in any aspect of accounting. Right now, they got me doing IT audits.
Gotcha.
Kind of like business compliance, but within house, so it's more internal. Outside of that, I have like a small bookkeeping, tax reporting business where I help small business owners and individuals in understanding how taxes and accounting actually can be used in everyday life, and as well help them with their small business.
Gotcha. So you offering advisory services, tax expertise.
Yes.
So what area this may go without saying, but what area of accounting do you plan to specialize once you obtain your credentials?
Once I have my credentials, I would like to really focus on really more financial reporting and accounting, and do offer auditing in case somebody do need somebody review their financial statements just to make sure they're in compliance. And then outside of that, I kind of want to help when it comes to tax laws. So I plan on going back to school for business law.
Do you? So you're going to be a tax attorney?
Well,
possibly?
Yeah, but possibly, but really want to give my expertise when it comes to taxes and the accounting aspect, and understand how it affects people's business and the financial aspect instead of really focus on the business law itself.
Right. So you'll be able to keep all of the money.
Basically.
Your clients. Yeah. And then go ahead.
Kind of like a jack of all trade, but just for accounting.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, let's talk about your CPA exam journey so far, where you are. So what review course did you use or currently using, and why? What factored into that decision? The price, the reputation, or was there some convenience factor?
Currently, I'm using Wiley. Prior, I was using Becker. Becker was being offered through my job. So, since it was free, they allow us to get the actual course. And then once I switched jobs and it became not really a main factor and it wasn't really being pushed like that, I decided to go with Wiley because it was cheaper.
Gotcha. How long have you been on this CPA track?
From 2011 to now. So we're like about, I want to say 9 years in.
9 years? Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about the various parts. Everybody knows or should know it's a 4-part exam. So how many times have you taken various sections?
I've taken FAR twice and Regulations 1.
Gotcha. So far, have you found any section particularly difficult comparing FAR and regulation? What are your thoughts?
I feel like they're not difficult. It's just a matter of really wanting to sit down and understanding and having the time to really do it. It's one of the things that you can't study and be in busy season at the same time. It just
Gosh.
won't work.
So when did you take your first exam? Since it's been
Uh,
like an ongoing 9-year process, when did you take the first exam?
I believe I took the first exam in 2011. That's when I was working in advisory, and I missed it by 4 points.
Oh, heartbreaker.
And then I took the second exam, and I took FAR again in 2017, but I was in the middle of a busy season.
Mm-hmm.
And then I tried, and in the midst of me waiting, instead of me waiting for my results for FAR, I just went ahead and jumped in regulation, and that happened the same year.
Gotcha. So have you, now that you're, I'm assuming, diving back in, what study habits are you using this time, or what changes, lifestyle changes you
The
have?
difference between now and then, like I said, I'm not as busy, so I'm trying to study more in the afternoon and then on the weekend. I've gotten to the habits of really just not just reading a book and just verbatimly just writing down what is being said. Instead, I'm trying to make notes to kind of keep idea what is being taught in that lesson. And I guess I'm trying to get used to study groups now. I'm
Okay.
so used to being the one that everybody relies on for the answer that now that I'm actually having to study with like-minded people, it's an adjustment.
Okay. Are you embracing it? Do you think it's beneficial, or do you feel like maybe you should just study, pull back on your own, or the study group may be the missing piece?
I feel like it might be the missing piece because I've been doing it by myself for so long that I guess it's it's now time to have somebody hold me accountable to make sure I stay on track. And
Okay.
then on top of that, when I'm unsure, having somebody to give me feedback on how to better understand certain parts that I may have missed. That I'm looking forward to, because like I said, I'm so used to being the one that everybody gets the answers from. That now that I have a group that's like-minded and I can get answers from myself,
Got
it's an adjustment, but it's a needed adjustment.
right, and take some of the pressure off you. To
Yes,
you have a
and
resource.
I'm loving it.
Gotcha. So over the past 9 years, did you have any unexpected life occurrences? Did curveballs come your way, threw you off track?
Let's see. You have the flood that happened in Colombia in 2016. Then
Okay.
like I said, I had a job. Well, I lied. That was in 2015. Then I had a job switch in 2015 where I got laid off.
Oh, sorry.
And then once I got the new job, it was more of a matter of trying to find time, because it's like with me doing partnership and corporation taxes, we really didn't have much of a much of a break. It's like our busy season came in waves, where at the beginning of the year we were busy doing extensions and helping the trust management group. And then as soon as we died down, we had to really focus more on getting ourselves prepared for the new tax season. And by the time we got into the summer, it's like all our work really started cranking in. I can really say at one point I really didn't really see a break until like October, November-ish. And by the time you get into the cold part of the year, the exam is not really offered like that around that time.
Oh, scheduling. There's issues with scheduling the
Yeah,
different
because it's like
sections in your area. The,
yeah, because South Carolina is like was part of the states where they only offer a certain part of the year, and even now they're still doing it that way, where they only offering it certain times of the year. Until next year, they'll finally make a decision if they're gonna do the continuous offering.
gotcha.
So South is still in the air.
Based on where you live, you talked about a small town. Do you have to travel for the testing center? Is that something
I
you have
would.
to think that
Yeah,
you have to
I
think
would have to
about?
go back to Columbia for it.
And how long a drive is that? Because I know that can factor into planning when to take the test, or if you're working late, a lot of things can come up where you may feel like you have to push it back, especially if you have just a long drive to the testing center.
I believe Columbia is really like an hour and a half to 2 hour drive, depending on if the
Wow.
traffic is even busy on 26.
Gotcha. Oh, so that can be stressful too on test day, or an
Yes.
additional cost if you go the day before. I've seen online some advices if you have a long commute or the testing center is not nearby to go the day before, but that's an additional cost. Some people just can't afford to do that. Go get a hotel room.
Hmm.
But then getting up that morning, you have the added stress. Of course, the test alone is stressful, but then you're trying to hope, you're thinking, hoping and praying, driving that there's no accident on the road, there's no traffic jam. So people just
Yes.
don't realize the stress of it all.
And I'm in one of those states where people can't drive to save their life. So it's kind of like, hopefully you make it there okay. Hopefully nothing happens.
Gotcha. Okay. So back to, you said you tried 2 review courses. So what are your thoughts between the two with Becker and
Well,
Wiley, and since you had both, the price difference as well?
hmm well, with Becker, I could understand why it's priced so high because the way they lay it out, in my opinion, I feel like they lay it out in a layman's term. But
Okay.
with Wiley, it's like you could tell they're trying to jam pack all your financial accounting classes into one book, and then throw in governmental just to give you a little bit of salt. So I can really say, at least with Wiley, you get an in-depth understanding with a lot of times the actual codification pieces in the book itself. But with Becker, with the review courses, I feel like the guide doesn't sugarcoat it. He just tells you exactly how it is, the best way to study for it. And I like that. Now, I haven't really tried Well, I lied. I did try Wiley's, the actual review classes, and
In-person
to
class? Is that what you said?
well,
Live in person?
the online classes,
Online.
like the
Okay.
online, and I could say it's just, you ever heard somebody and the way they talk, the monotone is just the same the entire time.
Yes,
It
like
kind
a
of reminds
robot.
you of being, yeah, it's like being back in that class. And you're like, oh my God, why am I here? So if anything, I could say Becker's actual online review course itself is better, but Wiley's the in-depth book, the fact that they give you so much and like actually let you see the codification itself, I love the book.
Gotcha. So does that mean you're on the self-paced track or
I I
program?
I am. I'm doing self-paced.
Gotcha. Okay. So the first time, I know you mentioned you were working for a different company, and now I'm assuming with a different company as well, 9 years later, did either employer have an offer to pay or have a benefit that was offered to employees to cover the CPA exam, the review courses?
The first company did, until they realized that they didn't need it for their line of service. It was like, you know how you're a startup company and you're just trying to find what could bring the most business in.
Okay.
See, at the time they was like, okay, let's see how many of y'all could get your CPA license, how many of y'all could get your PMP certification, how many of y'all is going to be certified in Microsoft. Like, they really was just searching for the certification that could bring the business in. And with me already having a master's degree in accounting, was already gun ho on sticking to accounting, and already doing inventory audits at the end of the year for different companies that they was doing it for. Um, it was like, okay, let me go ahead and get the CPA since y'all paying for it. But then the following year, they just stop it completely.
Really?
Yes.
With, did they offer any explanation?
They, they said it was because the line of service, they didn't need it, and they thought they did, but they really didn't.
Did,
Because the way advisory is set up is kind of like a project by project type service, where it's kind of like the client comes to you and say they have a specific need, and from there it may not even be related to accounting. It could be like business compliance or auditing or something like that. Minus with an assurance, you're sticking to reviewing financial statements, looking at people accounts, so it's important for you to be certified. And in taxation, with the new company I'm in, we was even though we had maybe a CPA and I think a chartered accountant from the UK, they didn't really push the CPA where, yeah, we want you to get it. Instead, it was like, okay, if you get it, cool, but what else do you want first?
gotcha. That's interesting. So now where you are, have they offered to cover your exam fees if and when you pass? Is that possibility?
Mm-mm. It's only because of the fact that we're like a third party company to the. What's funny is I'm a third party contractor for the same people I worked originally for.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Yeah, so I'm no longer. It's like you're no longer really an employee. Instead, you're just okay. You work for them, you do projects for them, but they're not obligated to pay for you. And the fact that with them,
Okay.
it's like they're not really, like I said, we at first, yeah, we were doing taxes, but since the tax department closed down, it hasn't been really a factor of, oh, let's see what certification we could definitely put y'all in since y'all was doing bookkeeping, or but because even when it came to bookkeeping, that was like a small short-term project. Now I'm just doing IT audits, and the most I have to be certified in is just the programs that I'm working with.
So as you complete this journey, do you see yourself switching over to a different department, into another position, or you think you would probably just end up looking elsewhere? Pretty nice.
Well, what I'm hoping is I really want to look. I'm hoping to look elsewhere, but once I have the certification, I really want to work for myself.
Oh, okay. The entrepreneur.
Yes,
That's the
because
ultimate goal.
I'm honestly tired of corporate life. Like the whole big business, like they could keep that. I'd rather just make sure the everyday person understand why they're being taxed the way they taxed and why it's important for them to, have certain number of dependents depending on how many is in your household. Why it's better to save this way, pay this bill than to let it accumulate, and better how to better understand what you're actually bringing home.
Gotcha. Well, that's good. You already have the end game in mind. You already have mapped out a plan. Once you get the credentials, what do you plan to do with it? Versus some of us, you're in your current position, you're thinking, do I stay here? Do I just jump ship, find a new job, or do I just branch out off on my own? So I applaud you for already knowing where you plan on how you plan on. That's good. So since you've been studying all this time, what tips or advice do you have to share? What do you? I know you said you're doing the study group's different. That's something different. But what else are you doing differently? Maybe with scheduling or prioritizing. What's different this
Really,
time around?
the difference now is I don't have my personal. I also had a personal hindrance that was really blocking, and just if there's something that you really want to do, you gotta stay encouraged. Like you would never. A lot of times you would not have cheerleaders in your corner who see your vision the way you see it. Instead, they're thinking, "Oh my God, you're going back to school for something else. When are you gonna stop?"
Oh,
Instead, if that's something you really want to do, just stick to it. Let your gut lead you, and don't be afraid to just take a leap because that's where your heart at. Don't let nobody hinder it. So my main thing I want people to remember is that keep yourself focused. Forget the naysayers because that's what they're for, just to say nay.
gotcha. So you're encouraging yourself, huh?
Yes.
Eliminate those people that's not in your corner, and you can
Oh,
find your cheerleaders in that study group that you started or you joined, right?
yes. Yes. That's the thing that really made me okay. Once I got rid of my naysayer and the study group popped up, I was like, yes, it's like everything is aligning the way it needs to.
Right. So speak to or speak about having a support system and finding it
Well,
in the study group.
Well, that's one thing I think the main thing that I was lacking is having a support system. Because I'm so used to having somebody trying to dictate exactly how you should move that at one point I was like, maybe it's right. Maybe they're right. Maybe I do need to just be grateful where I'm at and not try to strive for greatness. But something in me just felt like, nah, that's not you.
Mhm.
So after a while, it's just like I said, I had to relieve myself of my naysayer because I realized that I was being dragged and held back. And once, and the mini conversations me and Lamar was having, Lamar's like, really? You're really letting somebody hinder you, bro? You was too smart for that. And
Right.
I was like, I know. But I can't say it's every female thing, but you know how we are when it comes to our significant other and trying to get their input on everything we do. I
Want
didn't
that approval.
realize. Well, I
Want
knew, but I
approval.
didn't. Yeah, I knew, but it's like I was in denial that that was my hold up.
Oh, okay. So you had to shed some heavy weight.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, before we move on to your professional life, let's conclude here, and then we'll come back and pick up with part 3 of this interview. Hold on. There you. All right, so welcome back. We're here. I know this is probably the second part of the interview, but it's part 3 of the outline, just if anybody's taking notes or paying attention to what I said. But let's pick up with finishing up about the study group and how it's been your newfound support system.
Yes. It's just the fact that with everybody that's in the group, I kind of already personally knew or worked with, and with Lamar I knew since high school.
Oh, really?
It was
Okay.
Yeah, it's just nice knowing that I'm not alone, and the same people who already had my back and who has been encouraging me, but I didn't really see it, is
Mhm.
still there. And so it's like, okay, at least I know they're in the same boat with me. We're going to do this together, and I don't have to worry about my naysayers anymore.
Right, that's encouraging and motivating you there, especially having someone. If anybody's watched the previous interview or some of the videos, go check out Lamar Crutch. That's who she's referring to. So you've known him for years, and y'all went through
Years.
school together. So somebody you know, familiar with, and also can empathize and sympathize through going through this struggle, the CPA journey.
Yes,
So that's
he's
good.
been he's been a great friend. He's been a great supervisor when I worked underneath him. He
Okay.
actually was, yes, Lamar has really helped me when it comes to even how to better understand the clients that I've had. I
Mhm.
go to him for a lot of tax advice.
Right. So and that speaks to something else we sometimes lack in the Black community, that aside from support system, but also networking and building relationships, professional relationships, or having relationships that can translate into professional opportunities. So it sounds
Yes,
like you've established that with Lamar, and
yes,
seeing how important that is. Because a lot of times we don't have that either. We're striking out on our own just from scratch.
yes. And
So
what's makes it funny is like you would think I should have the support system, since I'm not the only one in my family that actually been pursuing for the CPA. I have a cousin that's the CPA. I have another cousin that I believe she might be certified. I'm not sure. I haven't really checked with her. And then I
mm,
have an aunt that went to school for accounting as well, but she decided to go into criminal law instead of just focusing on accounting.
gotcha. Well, let's jump over to your professional life. I know you ultimately want to be a entrepreneur, have your own accounting firm, but right now, what are your thoughts about the CPA designation? Do you think is as important as it was when you started out 9 years ago? Or is it losing relevancy, especially with some of the changes here recently with the ongoing exam structure and changes where it seems like it might make it a little easier if possible?
I feel like the fact that there's no delay on when it's offering actually makes it better. Because the structure we had before, where you had that many gaps between when it's available, you never know what you may lose from the time you actually study, and you have to wait. And then when you finally take, you like, dang, did I study that? So the
Mhm.
fact that you could actually get done with the book and then go and take this exam, like literally the next day if you need to, I like that. But
Right.
I feel like just the fact, I think if anything, they really need to really gun hold on making sure that the exam relates to real life. Because you can sit here and obtain all the information you want, but then the actual examples that they give you, a lot of times it doesn't relate to the actual experience you have.
Right, which you are getting, which some may seem more valuable than the credentials.
Yes.
How do you think your employer values it? Is it experience or is it credentials? Or will it be a
Them,
combination? Or what are you hearing from where you work in from your peers?
well, from when I worked in advisory, just how the director that was over me, how he explained to me, it's great to have the credentials that you need, but you don't have the experience that match it. It really doesn't matter. People are more, it's like, yeah, they like the fact that you have extra letters in the back of your name, but can you really do the work?
Gotcha.
So I feel like I like the fact that with South Carolina, you have to have a year experience, but the question is, for somebody who's jumping out of college, will they actually have the opportunity to really get the experience and need somebody who's certified? Because a lot of times people won't even take you as an intern.
Really? That's interesting. So where you currently are, if you decided to stay, do you think it would be an immediate promotion and salary increase once you obtain the credentials?
I doubt, because like I said, I'm doing IT audit, and I probably have to literally find me a new job. And for what I see, there's a lot of people who's looking for somebody who not only have it's like, yeah, they want people who have experience in corporate, but
Mm,
it's more of a so outside of your job, have you really done any accounting work? So luckily for me, I've been doing individual as well as partnership taxation and doing bookkeeping at a small level as well as a medium to large size level. That's kind of helping me get through the doors. But I know for sure for me to do what I really want to do, I need the credentials. And
gotcha.
it's not just here at a domestic level. I'm actually trying to understand accounting at an international level as well.
Whoa, that's fantastic. You definitely be a sought out, highly sought out individual for your expertise. So continue on with
Yes.
that. That is great. And with that, and do you think your compensation, what your current salary is in line with industry standards? The reason I'm asking that, do you think at some point you may have to truly consider, do you want to strike out on your own because you think you're highly compensated doing what you're doing?
Uh, for what I've been told a lot of times, the what I'm at now and what I'm doing, what I'm making now is it pays the bill, but
Mm,
my passion really is in accounting, and if anything, I'll go seek out, just like I said, just so I can have the experience I need for the certification. I'll go seek out, and I don't care if I have to start back at the bottom. It's
got
just the level of, it's just a matter of me getting the certification, and then from there, knowing the different websites I've been seeing people requesting for accountant, somebody who knows how to do bookkeeping, somebody who knows how to use QuickBooks and know how to use Zero, who's familiar with um what's the software called? Um, it's a software that a lot of lawyers like to use where they upload
okay.
their documents. I'm used to using
You already have that
Clio.
experience. Oh, what is it?
Clio.
Oh, okay.
Clio, and Bill.com, where they can automatic they draft their bills out and pay for stuff. Like, I'm used to using softwares like that. So that and being introduced to a lot of automations that through this audit job that I have,
Mhm.
like, I'm trying to take all that and really create my own service where I can offer just everyday people, if they have like their own small business. I really, really want to do that. And like I said, I've been seeing a lot of people asking for that help. So
Gosh,
for me, it's not really more of the looking for the compensation. It's just fulfilling that purpose that I know that's my purpose.
that you're destined for.
Yes.
That's good. Going back to majoring in accounting, why did you choose accounting?
Like, I took accounting in high school my junior year. I
Mhm.
was in FBLA, I did DECA, and originally I wanted to go to school for law. But then, like I said, the first accounting class, I was like, wow, you basically make money counting somebody else's money? I'll take that. At least I ain't gotta learn so much codes and stuff. And then once I actually got to college and I realized it's the same codes majority of the time, this all the time, the same repetition of how to account for certain revenues compared in how certain things, if they pay on account compared to giving you cash, how to recognize that and where to label that. I was like, it's not bad. I think the problem that the US have is that they so specific when it comes to certain industries, they lose the broadness. That's why part of me was like, well, for the most part, it's generally uniform, but it's not too bad. So,
Yeah.
and just the fact that in my mind it's kind of easy, and I was already really good at math. I was like, well, why can't I get paid just doing telling
Well,
somebody, well,
yeah.
you didn't do this right?
It's coming to you naturally, huh? So get paid for
Yes,
it. So
yeah,
did
I
you
was loving
know?
that.
So did
Huh?
you know any black CPAs growing up before you? got to college? Or did you even know what
No,
CPA was or having that credential growing up?
not in, like I said, I took my first accounting class and just fell in love from there because it was like accounting slash personal finance. So I was like, oh, I could do this myself. That's when I actually started doing my own taxes
Really? In high school?
in high school.
Wow. I bow down to you. Very smart lady. Go.
Thank
You are
you. Thank
definitely in the
you.
right field. So even when you majored in accounting, did you know CPA was the ultimate goal? Was that in
No,
mind when you started out in college? Did you know, okay, these are the steps I need to take in order to even sit for the exam? Was that even
no, ma'am.
presented to you?
Orig-
Did you even know that?
No, ma'am. When I first got into accounting, Lamar was like, "Oh, I'm about to do." Lamar told me about financial accounting, and I was
Okay,
like, "Nah, I'll do manager. I'll do managerial because managerial seems to just be bam, bam, thank you, bam, and call it a day."
gotcha.
And the only time you probably have to tweak it, it just depends on the business itself. But he was like, "No, that's the thing. You're so it's so checkbox that you don't really get the chance to really learn from a different aspect of what the person would want to see when it comes to their financial statement."
Mhm.
So at first, I was just gone home managerial, managerial, managerial. What broke me was my actual managerial teacher. It's just his idea of that's the way it is with no real explanation. That used to bug me. Like I'm one of those people who got to know the why. You can't just tell me things and just say that's it. I need to know why. So when he just say that's the way it is, that's the way it is. I said, man, book manager. I'll go to finance.
Okay. You needed to understand the nuts and bolts of it.
Yeah, I'm most people. I ain't gonna just do it just because it sounds nice. You got to tell me why. If I'm before you can just say just do it. I need to know why so we don't go to jail.
Gotcha. Okay. So have you had a mentor along the way in college that you may have met or professionally over the years as you've been
No,
working in your
no, ma'am.
career on
No,
your
ma'am. Just it was just solo dolo the entire time. I literally pushed myself through the whole. This is what I need. Like I'll go and just Google. Okay, what all do I need to do? And they'll say, oh, well, you need to do that. You need this many credits to even sit for the CPA. I was like, okay, well, I could take the option of just taking additional tax classes or get my master's. My homegirl was like, just get your master's. So I went and just got my master's. And since University of Phoenix had a master's program that's specifically designated for the CPA, I was like,
okay.
shoot, I'll take it.
Oh, I didn't know that. So that's good to know. The University of Phoenix has a program that pretty much sets you up to sit for the CPA exam once you finish it and have acquired your master's degree. You'll be
Oh
ready.
yeah, I was, and then we was using Wiley CPA during my master's program.
Oh, okay, which is good. That's good to know. So that's part of probably the tuition, some of the
Hmm.
study materials or the classes, which were review classes, but you were getting credit in fulfilling your master's degree.
Yes, ma'am.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, as you know, Black people, African Americans, are hugely underrepresented in the accounting profession. Why do you think that is?
I feel like because if you look at the U.S. as a whole, we're kind of still a startup, a startup. I was about to say company, but a startup country.
That's on your mind. That's where you headed towards. You ready to step out on the road.
I'm like, look, they ain't ready to know about the corporation and all the stuff like that. Let's just keep it where
They
everybody
ain't
knows.
ready yet. They ain't ready yet.
They ain't ready. But the U.S. is really fairly new, so it's like I just discovered probably last month who the first CPA when it comes to Black CPA was. And just seeing the date of being 1960 something, I'm like, okay, that's not that long ago. We really are breaking ground when it comes to us. So I'm not surprised that we're underrepresented because we're just now really getting our
In
foot
the profession.
in the door. Because
True.
like Charles Wilson said in the Miseducation of the Negro, we were so gun ho on being only taught religion and how to farm that when it comes to other profession that could actually help us, we were discouraged because that's how they manipulate the Negro mind. They made us think that you have to be like this, you have to stay in this course. If you dive out of that, it's like it's a taboo. So the fact that we actually have people who decided to be lawyers That's why you got the NAACP, and decided to be beyond just religion and really help the people. You could tell it's like a movement that just started within the past couple. I can't say past couple of years, but if you understand the depth of years compared to like hundreds in this, instead it's really just 20 to 30, something like that, then you, after a while, you be like, I'm not surprised that we're underrepresented. We're unrepresented when it comes to government. We're really underrepresented when it comes to medicine. So it's like we're really trying to make our presence known, and they're just now really embracing our presence.
Right. So it's no surprise.
Nothing surprised me as long as I live in the U.S. and as long as the U.S. has the history that they have. Yeah, you can't surprise me.
Nothing surprises. So what can we do, the accounting profession as a whole, but other Black CPAs, to help increase the pass rates on the exams that will lead to the CPA credentials? What can we do as a Black community?
I feel like we really need some black representation when it comes to the FASB. We need Black representation when it comes to the IASB. We need Black representation when it comes to the SEC, the IRS. People who can go in and really tell you, based on the everyday experience that they have, based on the knowledge they have of the code, and we really create our own study material. Like, we got to start relying on other people to teach us. And since we have so many people who's already certified, we need to come together and really pull that information together and do for us. That's one thing I noticed that we don't do. We're so quick to rely on others. We don't really take the time back to say, okay, we have what we need. When are we going to come together and really do something with it?
Gotcha. So you have an idea about having a whole nother review course or study materials?
How many review courses they have? We have yet to have one actually made by Black hands. I'm shocked. I'm not really shocked, but I'm like, wow, what are we waiting on?
That's an idea. Oh, okay. Something that you may be bringing to the market.
Let me get mine together, because 9 times 10, mine ain't could just be domestic. I'm trying to throw in some international, because it differs per country, and then on top of that, the International Standard Board, to say it's supposed to be light gap, but it's broader than gap. But then when you get to certain countries, some people follow it, some people don't.
Right.
I feel like, okay, if we have representation in those countries who could really come in and really be like, okay, this is what y'all do, this is what we do, how can we make it where it's easier for people to understand how it really should be? And who knows, maybe once we decide to take that lead, you never know, people might reevaluate how gap is being displayed and really try to figure out how to not really make it so specific that it differs per company, but make it where it can be broad, it can be used across the board.
Okay, well, that's something to consider. We'll see you sitting around the table.
I wish. I'm one of those ones who will bring the idea, but actually be like, oh, so you're gonna give us that, like, really help put in the idea work? No, I told you the idea. I don't know about actually following through with you.
Oh, you have the great grand ideas, but you need somebody else to execute.
Yeah, like, I'll bring you to the hill. Now, how exactly you jump, that's on you.
Gotcha, but we need somebody with the bright ideas, the visionaries. So
I got you.
That's not bad either. Well, considering we're going through the pandemic right now, so we're recording this in August of 2020, and COVID-19 is everywhere, and there's been some social, racial unrest in the U.S. and around the world here. How do you think that's impacting you right now in your mindset in studying for the CPA exam?
Actually, it's really motivating me to really go and get it, because, like I said, a lot of people are transitioning from actually having a physical shop to having a business online. So a lot of people is testing inventions and testing softwares. They have no clue what they're doing. So like, I have a friend who has her own towing company. Like, I do her taxes, but when it comes to accounting, like accounting for the money and accounting for parts, she does everything by hand. I introduced her to a software that help her, so she don't have to worry about pen and paper all the time. It's like, not just that, but the program I introduced her to, I can link it to QuickBooks.
Oh.
So it's like, the fact that people are transitioning to online, like e-commerce, and using Shopify and eBay and PayPal, that really motivated me to really just go in there and really help them to better understand how to account for certain transactions and how to link it to your account instead of you actually have to manually adjust it. And even then, you have me to make any manual adjustments that you're unsure of.
Gotcha. Okay, so I understand that this has been devastating for a lot of people. However, there's been a silver lining in it
Yes.
for you, especially when someone who wants to build her own business and be remote and have a virtual shop anyway. So you've been able to use this as an opportunity. So aside from what's going on, this has been a great opportunity for you.
That, and like I said, a motivation for me to really dig deep into understanding my craft and understanding just how to how to dumb it down, where when I explain to a person what I'm doing, them themselves won't be confused what exactly I'm talking about. Like I can have it's to this point where I can actually have a regular conversation with my mom about taxes, about her taxes, and she's like, "Oh, so that's why I did wrong." And I'm like, "Yeah, it's something small."
That's a gift too, to be able to break down these technical terms or concepts in layman's terms. So
It's
that's a
like
bonus for
cause
that too. Go ahead.
yeah, cause it's like in my mind, it's like how I look at it. Like, yeah, I hate for the average person to feel like, oh, she's super educated, she'll know how to talk the regular talk, but I'm like, bro, I'm from the country. I still sound country. Like, when I'm mad, I talk Geechee. So I cannot present myself to be any bigger than I am when my education still when my own tongue won't let me sound professional 100% of the time.
I am from, I call the sticks of East Texas, pine trees, far as you can see. So I understand.
Yes.
I will always identify with the country.
Yes.
I
So
understand. So depending
I
on
did not go to.
go ahead.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I did not go to school to be fancy. I just went to school to just be to get the education and bring it back and let y'all know, hey, this is where we the fucking up at.
All right. That's how we can do better, right? Now we know
Yes,
better, let's do better. And help them.
yes, and that's what I realized. A lot of people in the country, it's like they're stuck, and I'm trying to tell them like, you have a whole business right here. You just don't even realize that we could do better.
That's awesome. So before we wrap up, one almost last question. What will it mean to you to have CPA behind your name, having those credentials?
And know that, you know, it lets me know that I did not let my naysayer hinder me in a mental sense. They were already hindering me in a physical sense. But to know that I actually have it and I proved my naysayer wrong, that lets me know that, hey, if you could do this, then you could really finish school by the time right before you're 40. You can really go and actually extend your business internationally. You don't have to be the stereotype of, oh, she went back home, then I mean she must have failed. No, I went back home so I could restart and really push myself.
Well, that is fantastic. So everyone will see your success. That is great. So any other remarks or lasting thoughts or advice you want to give anybody or future CPAs coming along? What are your thoughts?
Like I said, let the naysayers say their nays. Keep yourself 10 toes down and stay focused. If that's your goal, let it be your goal. Nobody can take you from your goal except the higher being. And last thing I checked, he ain't trying to. So don't let nobody discourage you, because the only person who can hinder you really is you. Everybody else is just there to be a physical block, but they don't have to mentally block you.
All right, get rid of the distractions.
Get rid of distraction. That's why they say boys and books don't mix.
All right, remember that. I think that's a good one to end on. All right, don't forget that.
Yes, boys and.
I think that's from grade school all the way through life, right?
Yes, yes. You never know you need it in life. You're like, that's why they said, yeah, boys and books don't mix.
Gotcha.
Now, men is a different story. But a boy, if a boy can handle you, you ain't need him.
Gotcha. Well, I want to thank Ms. Simmons for taking time out of your day to share your experience thus far. I wish you all the best. Stay on track. Get rid and keep those distractions out of your life.
Yes, ma'am. Amen.
Stay on track. And before we disconnect, thank you again for tuning in. And
Thank
remember
you.
who you are and whose you are. And there's no time like the present.
Amen.